I'm pleased to join you all to make some remarks about the Coalition. Can I firstly thank David Littleproud for driving down the Hume Highway to meet me in my office in my hometown so that I could spend my mum's final days close to her. I've really appreciated the deep and positive engagement that David and I have had since we started talking about coalition arrangements a few days ago. The Liberal Party must respect modern Australia, reflect modern Australia and represent modern Australia. And Australians sent us a clear message at the last election and we are listening. We will take the time to get this right. We'll listen, we'll step up, we'll modernise and we will rebuild. And it is with that undertaking from my party room and with my conviction and determination to get it right with respect to policies that I had front and centre with my conversations with David. And while I have enormous respect for David and his team, it is disappointing that the National Party has decided today to leave the coalition. But the most important thing I want to say is this. The Nationals' door remains open and our door remains open. And we look forward with optimism to rejoining at some point in the future. And as David and I left today, we agreed that he and I would continue to meet regularly and to talk because we have much in common. And we both have a big job to do to take the fight up to Labor. Now, as Liberals, we do respect the decision that the Nationals have made and our door remains open. Now, the Nationals sought specific commitments on certain policies and they've talked about that this morning. And our perspective is not about the individual policies themselves, but the approach that we said we would take to our party room about policies. Nothing adopted and nothing abandoned. So at this point in time, I asked the Nationals to respect those party room processes, and similarly, I would respect their attachment to the policies that they announced as very important to them. But our approach, nothing adopted and nothing abandoned. So we offered to work constructively with the Nationals and we asked for that respect in return. In good faith, I proposed that we stand up a joint shadow ministry consisting of Liberal Party shadow ministers and National Party shadow ministers, and that we go forward in a united way and that we then work separately on policies, as we should, in our separate party rooms and come together articulating what those policies are at the right time over the course of the next term. And the Nationals did not agree to that approach. The Liberal Party also insisted that shadow cabinet solidarity be maintained in any coalition agreement, and that was unable to be resolved. As the largest non-government political party, the Liberals will form the official opposition. The Liberal Party is the official opposition in the Parliament. A new shadow ministry will be drawn from the Liberals in the upcoming days, and obviously I will be saying more about that at the time. I just want to end on a constructive note before I take your questions. I want to work very closely with the Nationals and they want to work very closely with us. We will cooperate in the Parliament, in processes, in everything that allows us to bring together the very strong areas of public policy, of philosophy, but most importantly of values that we share as we do go forward. And as somebody who represents rural and regional Australia, I smiled as I watched David Littleproud give his remarks in front of the picture of Tim Fischer, my predecessor in the electorate of Farrer, a National Party member, but also a very, very good friend. Happy to take your questions. Phil.
I think on behalf of all of us, since you've condoled.
Thank you. Thank you.
It must be difficult. You express your disappointment of what's happened clearly, and I don't know, my words, like yours, the impetuous nature of maybe what happened today. do you see any opportunity in this in terms of, in the short term, for the Liberal Party to be able to now free from the shackles of the coalition and be able to find itself with its old constituency, or do you see that as not an advantage?
Well, I don't actually see the coalition as a way of the two parties being shackled together. I really believe that the coalition is stronger together. I am a committed coalitionist. When I came into that party room in 2001, the coalition consisted of John Howard as Prime Minister and John Anderson as Deputy Prime Minister, and I saw how well it worked when it worked together. But I do pay tribute to my Liberal Party colleagues in this room now and their intention to work constructively for the future with new and different policies, but never stepping away from our timeless values. Our policies may change, our values never will. But we need to give that process due diligence, and I, as leader, want to harness the real initiative, interest, talent and the smarts of so many in my party room to contribute to a strong public policy agenda that meets the Australian people where they are, recognising the enormous loss that we suffered on May the 3rd. David.
Just further to Phil's question there, can you give us a sense of the party room hookup that you had this afternoon? Is there a view that this could give you more freedom to get to that modern place that you keep talking about in the Liberal Party?
It was important for me to have a full party room meeting. Obviously, that was via Teams, as so much is these days. But just to inform very frankly what the steps I took were, the approach that I had, and that was supported by my leadership group that's in place now of Senator Ruston, Senator Cash and Deputy Ted O'Brien. So we were, as if you like, the four of us working through the different iterations and suggestions and discussions between David, I and obviously his party room. So it was important for me to transmit to my party room what happened. And I had, strong messages of affirmation, but I did want to explain that this was not something that I did peremptorily or with any sense of satisfaction. It really wasn't. It really isn't. I am disappointed. I do want the coalition to come together. And obviously this means for the Liberal Party that the shadow ministerial positions will be filled by Liberals, and I have much talent in my party room. But that, if you like, is secondary to the fact that we won't be forming a coalition, but we want to, and we remain open to it. Anna.
Sussan Ley, you made it very clear in your first press conference that you were going to go back to your party room, you were going to engage and consult before you came up with policies. So the Nationals came to you with a list of ultimatums, even though you'd made clear what your intentions were. So really, is this a test of your leadership? Did the Nationals come to test you, and is it a failure of your leadership?
I think the Nationals came with specific policies that they were determined to adhere to at this point in time. They're entitled to do that, and I respect their own party room processes. I simply asked that they respect ours, which are that we aren't going to land on those four policies, or any for that matter, right here, right now, in the form that they were presented to us. We have to work through them carefully and take the time to get them right.
Claire. Just a couple of things, if I could. On the idea that there was resistance to cabinet solidarity, that would be untenable for any Liberal leader to agree to. So given that was one of the Nationals' demands, do you have a view that the breakdown of this coalition was a foregone conclusion, if that was a red line for them that any Liberal leader could clearly not agree to? And just secondly, in terms of policy positions that might be established within the Liberal Party room, if at a future date you are rejoined in a coalition, would they be reviewed again, or would they be settled as they were in the Liberal Party room?
Look, shadow cabinet solidarity is very important, and unless I, as leader of the Liberals, could be sure about that, it was important that we didn't take those next steps. And as I've said, I wasn't assured of that with issues that may divide both members of their party room and members of our party room in the future. So it is not a new set of arrangements that fierce debates are had both within party rooms and within and around the shadow cabinet table and the cabinet table. Having participated in many myself over the years, I know this. But then you come out as a united front and you present a united agenda to the Australian people. And it's important that when we do that, people know that we're acting as a team in their interests, because while today is a lot about internal processes, we must never forget that we are here for the people who voted for us and those who did not, to present a very strong, positive, alternative agenda that meets them where they are, and to continue to work incredibly hard for the Australian people every day. You had a second part of your question, Claire.
If the Liberals agree on a policy position and then you later rejoin with the Nationals, would that position be reviewed?
Well, we would work through policies as we always have, and we've done that very successfully in the past. And I think there's a pathway, well, I know there's a pathway to do that. So having those policy discussions, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of vigorous policy discussions from different corners of the country and different agendas. But the process is very important too.
Ms. Ley, you said the ideal is a return to the coalition government, but in the coalition being returned. But in the interim, you're going to have to name a purely Liberal front bench. Will you be penciling in shadow portfolios to return to the Nationals in case of a deal? And would you tell the Liberal shadow minister that their job will go if there is a coalition agreement?
No, I won't. I have enormous talent in the Liberal party room, and the shadow ministers that I appoint from that party room will be well equipped and incredibly capable to take the fight up to Labor right up until the next election.
Ms. Ley, why do you think the Nationals were in such a rush to secure guarantees on those four policy positions?
Well, you're asking me a question which, with respect, should go to the Nationals themselves. And
did you feel rushed?
I respected the time given to go backwards and forwards, and I assume that they reached a point where there was no more discussion to be had. But in the future, perhaps we can return and have conversations that pick up where we left off. But in terms of why, that probably is a question for them.
Ms. Ley, Liberal MPs have told the Australian Review, told the party room the Nationals were not genuine about forming a coalition. When did you realise that David Littleproud was not going to form a coalition with you? And if you don't think they were genuine now, why do you think they would be genuine in the future about coming back?
You're capturing a sentiment that I don't believe you're correct in expressing. What I did was enter into conversations and negotiations in good faith. And I had a good faith partner in David Littleproud. And he was open and transparent and up for the conversation. At the end, the Nationals did not agree. The question as to why and what other issues may be concerning them is one for them.
Ms. Ley, aren't voters going to be confused? Any position or appointment that you make in the coming weeks has to be temporary if the two parties are going to come back together and renegotiate everything? Sure.
Not at all. Not at all.
But how can it be?
Not at all. Well, if the Nationals would like to reopen conversations about rejoining the coalition, and I hope they do, we will work through those issues at the time. The shadow ministers that I appoint can have every confidence that they will be there developing a really important agenda, most importantly consulting with the Australian people in the areas that they will be responsible for, and most importantly coming back to this Liberal party room to develop strong policies. If the Nationals are keen to rejoin, and I hope they are, those discussions will be had as and when needed.
Can I just follow up on that? I mean, if you get back together, you're going to have to take 7 Nationals into the shadow cabinet. So you're going to have to dump 7 Liberals. So how do you reconcile those two with what you just said to Tom?
I can only repeat what I've said, which is that the shadow ministry that I appoint of worthy and talented Liberals are well equipped to take the fight up to the next election, and they will. And any discussions with the Nationals may happen on the eve of the next election and may revolve around what is implemented post the next election when a coalition forms in government.
Ms. Ley, do you believe you can govern without the Nationals?
We're always strong when we work together. In 1996, the Liberals could have governed without the Nationals, and John Howard took a strong and principled approach that the coalition mattered in the long term more than one term in government where the Liberals effectively could have governed without the Nationals. That is exactly the approach that I will take.
Thank you.
One more question.